I call this meeting of the Red Oak Independent School District to order at 6:30 PM. Let the record show that the quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and the notice of meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Opens Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. All board members are present with the exception of Mr. Johnny Knight. If you bow your heads, I'll lead us in invocation. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for everything that you do for this district, for these kiddos, for our staff, and we just ask you to continue to put your arms around these kiddos, Father, as they continue through this semester. Just let them know that people do care for them, people do love them, and they want them to succeed, Father. We lift up a special prayer tonight for Johnny as he continues to fight and battle and try to get up his strength, Father, for his surgery. He's out having some therapy tonight and wasn't feeling up, but we just ask you to give him some good days in the next few days. Just let him get his strength back and get to where he needs to be to proceed how he needs to go, Father. We just thank you for everything that you do. Forgive us for our sins. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. Ms. Peterson, would you lead us in our pledges?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, we have a consideration and approval. Were there any, is Debbie here? Anybody sign up? All right, moving to our action items. Consideration and approval of Envision Payment Solution Agreement and Bank Release Authorizations. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, appreciate it. Most entities do work with an organization to collect return checks. And the company we use went out of business last spring, and so we did some research and came up with Envision, and we're requesting the board approve the partnership with Envision. It doesn't cost the district anything. They charge the individual where they try to collect the money from, and so we have 3 different accounts that we're going to try to set this up with, and so then the bank, Prosperity, would then contact Envision to collect the money. So we asked the board to approve the relationship with Envision.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Do we have a motion?
I make the motion that we approve the agreement and bank release authorization to begin the payment recovery of return checks for 3 bank accounts: General Operating Food Service and Student Activity Fund.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight and a second by Ms. Porter. I do have one quick question. How big of a problem is this?
It's not big at all, but we
Okay.
just want to have a relationship in case something were to come up.
Okay.
But as we've talked about over the last 3 or 4 months, we're trying to go more online, but there's still some components where a campus may receive a check.
Sure.
It is minor. I think that recently, in the last 6 months, we've had 1 individual.
Okay, cool. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. Sorry. Lost my noodle tonight. Consideration approval, purchase of cafeteria tables.
I mean,
Dr.
on
Johnson.
behalf of Student Nutrition, they are trying to upgrade some of the cafeteria equipment, and at the middle school, there's tables that have stools, and those stools wobble and break off. So they want to replace it with a bench-style seating, and then take those tables and maybe use them where we need them elsewhere. And the reason that it says in here is coming out of the student nutrition budget is, at the end of last year, they had an increase to their fund balance due to the summer seamless program from last year, where all students ate free. So they're using that money. They've already developed a plan to use that money to replace cafeteria and kitchen equipment. So they'll be coming back with other proposals before long, too.
Okay.
So we asked the board to approve the purchase of the tables for $173,000.
And I'm assuming we're taking that lessons learned for any purchases down the road for
Yes.
other buildings?
My understanding, yes, sir.
Any other questions?
you say they're the bench-style seats, are they like the ones at the elementary where you can fold them up and?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Any other questions? We have a motion.
Move that we approve the purchase of 200 cafeteria tables from the EduSource Corp. for Red Oak Middle School.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Peterson and a second by Ms. Knight. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passes 6-0. Consideration approval of adoption of resolution in TASB local board policy BB local.
Yes, currently our voting method on local policy BBB states that to be elected, a candidate must receive more votes than any other candidate for that place. This would mean that a candidate wins with the largest percentage of votes, regardless of if it's the majority of the votes cast. The new proposal that we have a resolution in your packet for and on your attachments is that the method of voting would be to be elected a candidate, you must receive a majority of the vote cast for the position. So instead of plurality, it would be majority. This would mean that if a candidate does not receive more than 50% of the votes, then the district would hold a runoff election for the top two candidates to determine the winner of the election.
Aren't most districts doing this?
I don't know about other, some districts do it. I don't know if most of them do it, but we've talked about this multiple times. And one of the reasons we didn't in the past was because we were doing our own elections. It was all a very manual process. We didn't want to have a second election because there was extra cost into it. And, you know, most of the times, people didn't have anybody run against them anyway. So, as you know, we get new people in the district. There's a little more energy about board elections. We've seen some in the last, 3, 4, 5 years, increase in the number of people who are running. So, if we're going, from my perspective, if we're going to do this, then this is a good time to move. It's what the other elections are. I mean, your national elections are like that, and state elections. It puts us more in line for the norm than not the norm.
Okay.
So if, like she said, if you don't get 50%, then they take the top two and you do a runoff election. Now that we're all more online, it's a little easier for us to do it now too.
Okay.
So, any questions about that?
Question, if it's only two running and you don't do it, and you do a runoff election
No,
anyway?
there would be, one of you, if there's only two, would get more than 50% of the vote. That's correct.
So it only comes into play if there's more than two people for the.
That is correct.
Yeah. It'd be pretty rare that they hit 50-50.
Hit 50/50, yeah.
Could.
Because it has to be just like one vote over
Yeah.
50%.
But then we have people that don't vote at all, like you
Mhm.
go do other things. I mean, you vote for the other stuff on the ballot, but you
Right.
don't vote for.
Yeah, but that doesn't count though, right?
That's
Only-
correct, only those
It's
cast.
only the ones cast.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, do we have a motion?
I make the motion that the board formally adopt the resolution for method of voting in school board elections to be by majority vote instead of plurality, and further adopts the attached proposed policy revision to BBB local.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight and a second by Ms. Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passes 6-0. And just so you know, this is not a permanent, it's permanent until we would change it back, but if whoever's on the board at some point in time down the road wants to change it back, they can flip it back however they want to. It's not it'd be up to the board.
Yes, it has to occur 180 days prior to the election,
Yeah.
the next election,
So will this be effective? in
for the
May.
May
in the
election,
May
correct.
election?
Consideration approval of secondary level new course proposals and deletions for 2023, 2024. Ms. Surratt.
Okay, for this year, we are only bringing you some additions. There aren't any deletions we're proposing this year. You have the packet. To just tell you a little about the process, we sent out the app form for people to fill out. We had several from teachers. This year, they all focus at the high school. After they came in, the high school went through them, Mr. Gatewood and some of his staff, and looked at feasibility of them, and then forwarded them to curriculum and instruction, where we had a committee that looked at them. And then we had some conversation back and forth with the high school, and this is what both groups agreed on, what you're seeing in the proposal tonight. Do you have any questions about them?
I have some comments.
Sure.
I love the debate is coming back. I love that the financial literacy, statistics, aerospace, audio video, masonry tech 1, kinesiology. These are things that kids are going to college for, and it's
Right.
awesome to see that being brought to the local level so these kids can get their feet wet, so they're not going away to college and saying, Mom and Dad, I decided I want to, after you drop 40 grand for one semester or whatever first year.
Yes.
So I think that this really will helps boost our curriculum department.
Thank you.
We'll bring this back. We need more teachers.
Most of these can fit into the schedule we currently have with some switches to our lead-worthy classes. We've filled some of these teachers who can pick up some of these with lead-worthy. It's my understanding the high school is really taking a look at the lead-worthy classes as far as meeting our students' needs. This is what they're proposing. I mean, we wouldn't have to add lead-worthy, we already had that, but they're proposing these kind of classes and taking the place of some of those kind of, I mean, lead-worthy is beneficial for kids, but it's kind of filled places in schedules. These classes will be a more robust offering through
Yeah.
that teacher.
Lead worthy isn't for everybody.
That's right. There is, we will bring you at some point probably a proposal to, and actually I don't know that it needs to come. We're looking at our construction teacher, Ms. Gutierrez. She is interested in going full-time next year, and this masonry class and a couple other classes would allow her schedule to do that. And it's a program that we have more kids wanting to be in than we have spaces for right now, so the students have identified that need for us. So there's a big picture, and all of this fits within it.
For the courses we add, is there a number of students that need to sign up for these courses for it to make?
We do have a number that considers a class made unless it's a very specific class to finish out something. But just because we put them in the course catalog, we do believe there's interest in them, but if there aren't enough students to justify it, then
They
we
won't have the course.
wouldn't do
Right.
it.
Are there courses that, I mean, I'm assuming you probably do audits every year, courses that kids just, for whatever reason, kids' choices change or kids' thoughts change. And they used to like, they no longer like to take that course.
You're correct. We aren't bringing you any this year. With our increasing numbers of students and increasing interest levels of those students, we aren't proposing any to take out this year. But again, if the course doesn't make, of course, we wouldn't offer that.
And do we talk to like the Texas workforce and see what are some courses, what are some needs they need out in the field? I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for jobs out there. I know, the market's kind of crazy and the economy's kind of crazy, but there's still a ton of jobs out there and a lot of needs.
Ms. Jeter is very tuned in with them and works with them from the CTE perspective to find out what positions are so one of the CTE catchphrases is high demand, high wage jobs.
Yeah.
And so we're always looking for those opportunities for our students. And she was actually the one who suggested the kinesiology. She, with her expertise, noted that we have 3 of the 4 courses in that pathway, so she's recommending adding this one to complete that pathway with courses we already have. So
Right. Okay.
she's doing an amazing
She is
job.
doing a great job.
Who's this?
Ms.
Jeter.
Jeter, our CTE
Oh.
assistant principal at the high school.
All right, any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the new course proposals, including all innovative courses as presented and course deletions in order to be in compliance with local and state policies.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Peterson, a second by Mr. Sebring. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our action items. There's no reason to go into closed session, I believe. So the time is 6:44 PM and this meeting is adjourned.